Farm Bureau guest line. His team at home this past weekend got 2 of 3 from Texas A&M. A really, really good series win for Ole Miss. And, Coach, there's so much to talk about from this weekend, but I feel like the conversation has to start with starting pitching, with what you got from Riley Maddox on Friday, Liam Doyle on Saturday, and really what you got from Mason Nichols yesterday as well.
No, I think you're exactly right. Richard, I thought we pitched it all, really well. Certainly it starts on the mound and with the starting pitching, but even out of the bullpen, all but, maybe the sixth inning yesterday, I thought we were about as good as you can be on a weekend.
Out of the bullpen, and obviously you could talk about multiple guys out of the pen, but Wes Mendes kind of feels like we're watching him grow up in real time. A freshman who's pitched a lot this year, but really looks like he's pitching with confidence right now.
No, I think you're, spot on. Wes was one of those guys coming out of fall that, we thought, had tremendous stuff and, had a really good chance of helping us in a lot of big ways, and a guy that you see that eventually you think he's got enough stuff with 3 pitches, possibly 4 pitches if he continues to work on the changeup, that he's going to help you as a starter. But it's tough as a freshman, and we've seen glimmers of it. At the beginning of the year, even the first weekend at Hawaii, he was tremendous. I think he had 3 innings of scoreless relief. But as it can happen a little bit, there's some growing pains, and so he kind of rode that roller coaster a little bit through the first half of the season. But the second half of conference play, he's been a little more consistent, and we've had more outings like you saw this weekend. We're going to need some more of that this coming weekend.
Huge weekend coming up. We'll get to that in just a second. Going back to the Friday night game, you've talked, Coach, about toughness at different times throughout the course of the season and maybe not having enough of that. Did you see what you wanted to see kind of on Friday night in terms of being down late in the ball game, putting enough at-bats together, kind of getting that big hit, and really being able to kind of stand right there and just trade punches in the ring with one of the best teams in the country?
No, you're again spot on, and I think you're right. And it's one of the things that we haven't been able to do that enough. And some of it's our own failures, either in the field or on the mound, to not being able to stay out of the big inning and keep those games and innings close enough to where you are a couple of bats away from making it either interesting or putting yourself right back in it with a tie score, a walk and a double, or a base hit and a homer. There's too many times where we've let them extend the lead, especially on that Friday night game, where the pitching is and runs are such a premium that you got to take advantage. And when you let them get a big lead and their Friday night guys rolling, it can cause a lot of havoc, not just in that game, but the rest of the weekend. And I agree with you. I thought we showed a lot of toughness on Friday, to pull one out against, like you said, one of the best teams in the country.
I'm visiting with Mike Bianco, head baseball coach at Ole Miss. You've got 2 spots that you stand in the dugout, right? You stand in one spot when your team is on offense and one spot when you're pitching. I'm curious about, from your perspective, the second inning on Saturday. Furness grounds out to start the inning. Groff flies out. Smithwick reaches base, and that starts this string of 5 straight hits after that. You get the Burford home run. Hughes gets the single, Birch gets a single, Hill gets a single, they change pitchers, Fisher gets the big hit. As that's unfolding, what are you thinking? What are you seeing?
Well, again, I think that's one of the things that you hope for when you're good offensively. You're able to put a string together even with 2 outs. You're able to put several good at-bats together. We talk a lot of times that, with 2 outs, everybody seems to shuffle around sometimes and get their gloves. And, we preach that, even with 2 outs, you have 33% of the inning left. And when you think about it that way, that's a pretty big chunk of the inning, right? 33%. But, that was a big inning in that game, and obviously a big double with bases loaded by, Fisher, that's gotten so many big hits for us this spring.
You've settled in on Will Furness at first base, and never mind his offense for a second. Talk to us a little bit about what he's brought defensively at first base to just kind of settle that position.
He really has, and I'm proud of him. You know, he's a kid that last year as a true freshman, you know, struggled at first base defensively. You knew that the bat had a shot to play, you know, big time. He was probably the leading hitter returning on this team from last year. But then even in fall scrimmages, he struggled both offensively and defensively. So moving Ross over there seemed like, you know, the logical move. But now, you know, that Will's gotten an opportunity here in the second half. He's played really, really well there. And, you know, for a guy that, you know, nobody ever talks about his defense, he's played sensational.
Mike, Reagan Burford's been in the program for a while. He's kind of up and down. He's been a starter. He's been a pinch hitter for you. He's pinch run, kind of done whatever you needed him to do. He's a captain on this team. For him to have the weekend that he had with Senior Day on Saturday, getting that home run, and just kind of coming up with some big at-bats through the course of the weekend, that had to be cool to see.
It really is, and even probably, Richard, going back to Wednesday, you know, coming off the bench and, you know, getting, you know, a big double, you know, late in the game where, you know, he gave us a couple opportunities to win. He hit one off the wall that we ended up, you know, not scoring him late on extra innings. But he's really played great down the stretch. And I'll share something that I shared with the team today. You know, we talk about leadership, you know, try to show them different examples. We've given L's out, kind of like a Buckeye sticker on your helmet. We've given L's out, you know, throughout the fall scrimmages and practices. And so different guys in practice have gotten and received L's, and, you know, they're put on their jerseys. But, you know, when today we talked about just what you're saying, Reagan, and what a great leader he's been. You know, not only was he the captain, but he was an opening day starter. You know, started the first part of the season, and then struggled a little bit, you know, offensively, and, you know, a little bit defensively. And so we went a different route, and you know, he's never changed. His personality in the dugout, his leadership in the locker room, the way he, you know, picks up his teammates, you know, he's been terrific. And as I shared with the guys, the game knows, you know, meaning like the game pays you back, you know, the game of baseball. And there's a guy that, you know, deserves it as much as anybody on our team. So yeah, I'm, you know, super proud of him, super happy for him.
Ask you about a local kid also. Obviously, it was a tough ending last Sunday for Campbell Smithwick, and he comes back this week. 3 hits on Tuesday, gives you some good at-bats over the course of the weekend. I guess we kind of go back to what we were talking about with Wes Mendes. It's hard to be a freshman in the SEC, but what does that say about kind of the way he handled last week rolling into this week?
And that just shows you the character of the kid. You know, he's, yeah, it's been tough, you know, on Campbell, you know, from a defensive side this year. But offensively, he continues to work, and, you know, and he works defensively as well. But he's gotten some opportunities to swing it of late, and man, he's going to be a star in his program. I'm still convinced of that, you know, and especially to be able to weather, you know, some of the storms that he's had to weather, you know, as a freshman, you know, and continue to help and contribute. Again, another guy that, you know, you're right, you know, real proud of him.
Awfully big week. Southern Miss tomorrow night in Hattiesburg, and then you go a little farther south to Baton Rouge for a massive final weekend series with LSU, but your team has kind of played itself back into a spot where they've got kind of all of the goals still in front of them.
No, you're exactly right, and it's kind of what I said in the postgame to the media. Everybody wants to talk, you know, and get the great quote, and there's nothing to tell you that you don't know or your listeners don't know. I'm proud that, you know, we've hung in there. We've played much better. We continue to believe that, you know, we're a good team, and we should make it to postseason. But you got to win the games, right? And you got to have a good enough resume. And you guys can do all the math, but we're better off this week on Monday talking to you than we were last week, and we're better off than we were 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, and so we're getting better, And but again, you're right. It's a big week because it's the only 4 games we got left, and so we got to go win some baseball games.
Saunier on the mound tomorrow night, or are you doing something else?
No, Saunier tomorrow, and then we'll see how everybody feels. Tomorrow night is about the time we start to check in. It's the bullpen night for Riley, and we'll start to figure out the rotation from there.
Mike, thanks.